Hey, Joe Green here, and I just wanted to do a quick run over of what MVC is. I've had a few people ask me, and I figured I would just throw this together in a pretty simple way that I've used to explain it. So, we're gonna use like a restaurant scenario here that we're just gonna go in somewhere to eat, and that's how we're gonna describe how model view and control work. So, every restaurant has a cook. So that's what we're going to jump into. Is he will be our model. Now, in this restaurant, the cook only cares about the food he needs to cook. He has orders coming in, he's going to cook that food, and then the orders are going to go out. The cook just cooks. That's it. So, obviously, we need to figure out how he's getting orders in and what's happening when he's done cooking the food. Because he doesn't just think whatever he wants to cook and just randomly cook something and then just puts it to the side, lets it get cold, and throw it away. So we have to figure out what else is kind of working here. But at least we know we have our cook, and he cooks food. So then what we have is obviously the person that's wanting the order, the food, and wants to eat the food. That's going to be our customer here. That's going to be the view. So as far as the view, like it says here, the customer has food they want to order. They might fill out a form or have that menu, right? And they want to eat their food when it's ready. Now, I've never really been to a restaurant, maybe like a food truck, but never in a restaurant where I've had to sit down at the table, look at the menu, and once I know what I want, I have to go walk back into the back of the restaurant to the kitchen, find the cook, and tell him, "Hey, I want a steak, or I want the salad with the house dressing." I've never had to go back into a kitchen and ask the cook for that, and I've never had to go back to the kitchen and say, "Hey, is my food ready?" And if it is, go ahead and bring it back to my table. That's not what customers do. That's not what the view does. Okay, so we have one more component that we need to get our MVC going. We're going to have our waiter, which is going to be the controller. They take orders from the customer, they give the order to the cook, and when the cook's done cooking that food, they're going to go ahead and bring that food to the customer. So once again, we have our cook. All he cares about is cooking the order. And then we have our customer that they just want to make an order and eat their food. And we have the waiter that's taking the orders from the customer, bringing the order to the cook, and when the cook's done cooking, that waiter is going to take that food and bring it to the table where the customer is. So, I know my drawings and my artwork is impeccable, but try to stay focused on actually what's happening here. So, in more of a restaurant feel, we'll go ahead and switch how I've been explaining the order. So we're going to come in as a customer wanting to eat and sit down at our table. Okay, we've spent a few minutes looking at the menu. We know we want the steak and mashed potatoes. Let's just go for that. So now we're ready, and we're just kind of maybe looking for our waiter. He kind of sees us, so here's our waiter, the controller, comes over to us and, "Oh, have you figured out what you want?" "Yes, this is what I want. I've submitted my food. I want the steak and the mashed potatoes." "Excellent choice." Controller comes back, goes to the cook, says, "Hey, I need steak and mashed potatoes." And the cook's now cooking. And then when the food's done, he just puts it to the side. Say there's like the window here or something like that. Boom, food's done. Then the controller is going to see that the food is done cooking, or our waiter here. So then the waiter is going to go grab the food from the cook, come back here, and bring it to the customer on his table, which is the view right now. One important thing with MVC is, like I said before, I've never walked into a restaurant and had to go give my order to the cook directly, nor have I ever had to go walk back into the kitchen and ask, "Hey, my food done?" And if it is, then I'm going to bring my own food back here. This is not a buffet. So that brings us to what we don't do in MVC. We do not have communication or contact between the cook and the customer. So the model and the view will never talk, or should not ever talk. It is the controller's job, the waiter's job, to do both taking in the data in terms of tech here in code, take in the data, send that data to the function, to the method that we have, the cook, whatever logic needs to happen behind the scenes and under the hood to the data we got. Then when it's done, it's just going to let off this little beacon like, hey, I'm done. I don't care what you do with it. You could just let it sit, rot, and throw it away. Cook does not care. Cook cooked. That's what cook likes. It's up to the controller to see, oh, it looks like he's done. Controller will come back, grab the finished data, whether the person's registered, whether they're trying to figure out what 3 times 3 is, whatever it is that's done cooking. Controller says, let me grab that finished data and display it. Put it on the table. Display it to the view. And then the customer can just consume or see or whatever they need to do with that data that they now have on the table. So that is the run through of MVC. It does go a little bit deeper as far as how you connect all of these, whether you fire it with functions in order. Like once this is done, it's going to fire a function which runs here and fires this function, which when it's done, it fires a function which comes back here, fires a function, and throws it to the view. You can do that, but then you can look into what's more of like decoupling, and then you can just add event listeners, and that's how the controller knows the cook's done. The cook's not going to say, oh, quick, I'm done cooking, fire a function so the waiter comes over. No. Our controller's going to have an event listener. When this guy's done and it sets off a beacon like done, 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 controller's going to be like, whoop, I hear that he's done. Let me go grab it and bring it back to the view. And that's how you kind of decouple these from each other. And as I said before, these two never communicate, but at certain times it's going to feel like they do, but they don't under the hood and behind the scenes. So that is MVC as far as kind of the restaurant example goes, with our cook and our server, our waiter, and then the customer in the view. I hope that helps. I hope that makes some things clear, and hope you guys enjoy coding.